In general, when you look up images of Rwanda, everything orients around the genocide. So it's very much reductionistic and it takes place exclusively kind of within that time frame. I mean, it's definitely a part and it's a component, but it's not at all the entirety of what you see when you're there. This was in Nyarabuye, which is this village along the Tanzanian border. I was just hanging out outside of the house and all of these kids from the village came up, and then I ended up meeting this kid. I would take the photo and then show it to him, and then he wanted one just by himself, so he kind of shoved all his friends away and then just like planted himself in the middle. I was co-oping with the National Commission for the Fight Against Genocide, and that's part of the Rwandan government based in Kigali. And I was also doing remote research with Natalie Borman in political science. Most of her work concerns kind of the use of atrocity footage and kind of how memory is politicized over time. It could be really interesting to look at alternatives to atrocity footage, so we decided that kind of the documentary photography aspect would be a really cool way to do that. Within Rwanda, kind of different communities will have different hills because it's the land of 1,000 hills. And so when she was growing up, they were actually the last generation who had this, but females would get burns under their eyes, and that was how they were kind of identified as being associated with this hill. She spoke very positively of it, like it wasn't a negative, like female-specific branding. It was more just like a sign of familial identification. I think it's super interesting too how kids totally portray themselves in different ways. Like some of them end up looking super serious in front of the camera, some of them are totally laughing. I think the intention isn't necessarily to exclusively portray the positive, but more to have it be a more comprehensive story in terms of what you're depicting.